Hello again. In this segment, Ray Franz finally appears before the governing body. On Wednesday, May 21st, the governing body session opened with Albert Schroeder as chairman. He first stated that the chairman's committee had asked me if I was willing to have the governing body's discussion with me taped, and that I had agreed, with the provision that a copy of the tape be provided to me. The governing body conference room contained one long oval table capable of seating about 20 persons around it. The full body of 17 persons was present. Aside from Lyman Swingle, who sat to my left, no member had conversed with me. The day before, no one, not even the member related to me, had visited me, either in my office or in my room. If there was any warmth of brotherly affection, compassion in the governing body conference room, I failed to discern it. I felt only the feelings I had experienced when appearing in secular court trials of the past, with the exception that in those cases I felt freer to speak and knew that other persons were present who could witness what was said, the attitudes expressed. This instead was a closed, secret session. The attitude displayed seemed only to confirm what Rene Vasquez had told me of the attitude manifested toward him. The chairman said that the body first wanted me to express myself on each of the 8 points the chairman's committee had drawn up as evidences of apostasy in their memo of April the 28th. I did, in each case, endeavoring to be moderate, undogmatic, as yielding and conciliatory as I could be, without going against my conscience by being either dishonest or hypocritical. The absolutist form in which these were presented by the chairman's committee in their memo, as if one either accepted fully the organization's teaching on these points, or else viewed them in the dogmatic way expressed in the memo, simply did not fit my case. None of their 8 points expressed what I felt were the true issues. The issue was not whether God had an organization on earth, but what kind of organization. A centralized, highly structured, authoritarian organization, or simply that of a congregation of brothers, where the only authority is authority to help, to guide, to serve, never to dominate. Thus my response was that I believed that God had an organization on earth in the sense that he had a congregation on earth, the Christian congregation, a brotherhood. The issue was not whether God had guided or would guide those forming the governing body, but to what extent, under what conditions. I did not doubt or question that God would give his guidance to these men, if that was sincerely sought. I felt that some of the decisions made, particularly in earlier years, had been good decisions, compassionate decisions. But I certainly did not think this was automatic. It was always conditional, contingent on certain factors. So my response included the statement that I believed such guidance always was governed by the extent to which God's word was adhered to. That to that extent God grants his guidance or withdraws it. I think that that is true for any individual or any collective group of people, whoever they are. My responses to all the questions were made in this manner. If any of those accused had spoken about these matters in the dogmatic, absolutist way that the chairman's committee presented them, then I felt a desire to do whatever I could to restore a measure of reasonableness and moderation, to conciliate rather than exacerbate, and I bent as far as I could bend. Other questions asked me were relatively few. Lyman Swingle asked about my view of Bible commentaries, from which I gathered that this had been a subject of discussion in the body. I replied that I had begun to use them more extensively as a result of my uncle's encouragement during the AID project. That is the Aid to Bible Understanding that Ray had taken the lead in researching. And that if the view was that they should not be used, that is the Bible commentaries, there were entire sections of the Bethel library that would need to be emptied, since there were dozens, some scores of sets of commentaries in the library. Martin Petzinger, who had spent several years in concentration camps during the Nazi regime, expressed dissatisfaction with my responses to the set of 8 doctrinal points. How could it be, he asked, that I felt as expressed if these other people were making such strong statements? As was true of the others, he had never talked personally to any of them. I answered that I could not be responsible for the way others might express things, and I directed his attention to Romans chapter 3 verse 8 and 2 Peter chapter 3 verses 15 and 16 as examples of how even the Apostle Paul's expression were wrongly expressed or wrongly understood by some. Though I did not say so, I frankly felt my circumstance was like that described at Luke chapter 11 verse 53, as among men who were trying to draw me out on a great many subjects, waiting to pounce on some incriminating remark. The conduct of the body during the preceding weeks gave basis for no other feeling. In Ray's next paragraphs, he addresses the rumors and hearsay which were still being passed around freely about what the apostates were up to.